Adding another win to this wonderful collection of his.
What can you say about him? Third place in his first MotoGP race ever, moving on to win his first season championship in 2013. Now, 7 years later, he is at the top of his game. Will he be the rider that beats Giacomo Agostini's record? Time will tell. To wrap my head around what makes Marquez so good, I re-watched a big chunk of MotoGP seasons from 2013 up until now, and I also watched all the documentaries I could get my hands on. So in this video, I'm going to give you my top 6 reasons why I think Marquez is so good.
It's gotta be against the law to look this damn good. Cause baby, I feel real good and I wish y'all would.
Watching older races and comparing the newer ones, it's clear that he has developed a lot over the years. When he first came into MotoGP, he crashed a lot and was sometimes a bit reckless on the track. As his skills have progressed over the years, you can see that he has become a lot more calculating, while still being able to use his instincts at the right moments. I think this development is key to understanding his success. Number 1 goes beyond his comfort zone. You often see him riding at the absolute limit of the motorcycle, sometimes being able to save it, sometimes not. Because he consistently tests where the limit is, he is constantly updating his understanding of it. We have to remember that the limits of the motorcycles is tied to the tires, suspension setup, track conditions, and of course the lines taken as well as the riding style. The so-called limit is not some fixed point, but rather is constantly updated over time. What was the limit a few years back is now miles away from where it is today. Interestingly, there's quite a lot of research on the subject of so-called expert performance, also called the science of expertise. One of the leading researchers in this space is Anders Eriksson. He has researched such varied experts such as Top Gun pilots, Spelling Bee participants, and musicians, to name a few. Eriksson's research points towards that deliberate practice is what produces the most successful athletes. So what is deliberate practice? Deliberate practice can be described as practice that focuses on tasks beyond your current level of competence and comfort. It is deliberate because it focuses on key areas of competence. So for example, if you want to improve your braking skills, you need to break down all the elements that go into braking, such as how to engage the brake lever, body position, brake points, and so forth. Then you design exercises to improve your performance in these key areas. Then you set up goals related to these improvements. Marquez clearly uses deliberate practice to improve his skills and test the limits. Of course, he isn't the only one in the paddock to use this way of improving his skills. So let's walk through some more points leading to his success. Number 2, aggressive but smooth. One aspect of Marquez's riding style that makes him unique when comparing him to other riders is that he masters 2 contrasting riding styles at once. He has the ability to brake incredibly late but transition smoothly into the corner. He lets the bike do its thing underneath him in a way that a lot of riders cannot master. I think a key aspect of this is that he trusts himself and the bike, and thus is able to relax, only correcting the bike when necessary. A great comparison here is martial artists. Have a look at when they throw a kick or a punch. The best ones use momentum and technique rather than pure muscle strength for maximum power. Marquez rides his motorcycle in this very way. He has an incredible feel for how much he needs to correct the bike. Number 3, master of the save. If you have ever watched a MotoGP race with Marquez in it, you must have seen at least one of his famous saves. His crew chief, Santi Hernandez, says that he pulls off these saves because he deliberately rides and practices close to the limit of the bike, and therefore is ready to respond instinctively when the bike reacts. So it's clear that he's not pulling off these saves out of luck. Being able to save a crash surely must be confidence inspiring, being a key part of the puzzle of why Marquez can continue to test the limits. There are lots of other riders who have saved bad situations, but not as consistently as Marquez. Number 4, study master. One part that many spectators overlook in racing is how riders study each other, during practice and when racing. A great example of how good Marquez is at studying other riders is from when he first came into MotoGP in 2013. He was initially struggling with the bike, not being used to how it handles and delivers power. So he asked his teammate Danny Pedrosa if he could tow him around the track, to see if he could pick up some points. Pedrosa welcomed this and led him around the track and gave him a lot of tips of how to improve his riding style to better fit the Honda. Well, what happened in the first race at Qatar only a couple of months after having been instructed by Pedrosa? Marquez took 3rd place, finishing before Pedrosa, who came in 4th. Another great example of studying his opponents is qualifying at Mugello in 2019. It looked like Pirro, the Ducati wildcard rider, was following Marquez around to get a tow. Marquez did not appreciate this, and when he came back from the first session, he told his crew chief, "Okay, we will change the strategy, I will follow them." So he waited around for Dovizioso, who was out to improve his current 12th position. And in Marquez's estimation, he must be going for it now, since this is the only chance he has to climb. He was right, Dovi was out for his best lap. Marquez shadowed Dovi to perfection throughout the lap, and then slipstreamed him on the straight and got pole position. Another part of studying opponents happens during the race. There are many examples of how Marquez stays back and pounces just at the right time to grab first place. So in races where Marquez is only marginally faster than his opponents, they may very well start copying his lines, break points, and so forth, to close the gap in between them. So in some races, it's not wise to pass and then give away your faster lines. He has taken the timing of when to pounce to perfection. Number 5. Use of engine/rear brake and sliding. While the other points on the list have been quite general, this is a very practical point. Marquez is able to use the rear brake as well as sliding or backing it in a way that is in contrast to his opponents. What is different about him and the rest is that he is able to simply make it work consistently, even though the bike is sliding all over the place going into corners. I'm not sure how Marquez got so good at sliding the bike. Maybe it comes down to him deliberately practicing this very skill, or something that his mentors and riding coaches have been focusing on. Whatever the reason is, Marquez has superior skills when it comes to sliding the rear into corners, which gives him an edge over his opponents. Number 6. Adapt to the bike. This point always comes up when talking about great riders. Many fans of MotoGP often talk about how the greatest riders are able to adapt to the bike, just like Valentino Rossi winning with Yamaha and Honda, or Casey Stoner winning with Honda and Ducati. While Marquez continues to ride with Honda, it's important to understand that they have made many changes over the years, especially with the engine, in order to catch up with Ducati. These engine changes have made the bike harder to turn in, according to Marquez, but does enable him to almost keep up with the Ducatis on the straights. Another key aspect here is that Honda's architecture puts huge forces on the front tire, which is why Marquez often is forced to race with hard slicks. The hard rubber is much less forgiving and does not give much warning before going. The fact that Marquez keeps on winning even though the bike clearly has these downsides, and also the fact that he won his first season on the bike, shows that he can adapt to the bike. Time will tell if he ever decides to go with another brand. Remember to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this. There's always something new to learn.